yourself. It takes about 40 minutes, and then we'll do Moxie samples. If you're a real fan of Moxie, while it lasts, you can follow me up to my room afterwards, and I'll hand out cans. I've got a couple of 12 packs. And if you saw this panel 2 years ago, I ask you not to spoil the answers to the quiz, the pop quiz. So what exactly is Moxie? Is it Maine's official soft drink? The Anglicization of muscus, the Abenaki word for dark or black water? Or an adjective meaning someone who is full of pep, or full of nerve, or someone with a lot of courage? A, B, or C? C? All of the above. It was made the official soft drink by Governor Baldacci in 2005. If you've ever been to the North Woods and you grab a glass and you scoop water from any pristine lake up there, it's brown because of the tannin that leaches from all the pine trees. Thus, Moxie Falls, Moxie Stream, Moxie Pond. And it's become an adjective that's been used by other products. And here are 2 samples, some lip balm. And if you've ever been to Lowe's, their store brand is Moxie, though I recommend you do not try and sample this version of liquid Moxie. Question 2. There are only 3 questions. Where was Moxie invented? Lisbon Falls, here in Maine. Lowell, Massachusetts, or Union, Maine? A, B, or C? B. Believe it or not, B. Lowell, Massachusetts. Maine's official soft drink is from out of state. When was Moxie first introduced? 1906, 1885, 1884, 1876, or 1870?
If I could do it without remembering, hold up.
C? Possibly. This is kind of a trick question because all of these are correct. It's now known as Moxie. It was named Moxie in 1906. Prior to 1906, it was Moxie Beverage, Moxie Nerve Food. Okay. It was patented. The patent on it was taken out in July of 1885. But the invention was produced as early as 1884 as a carbonated beverage. Prior to carbonation, it was a take by the spoonful cure-all medicine. And a lot of the early ads, would promote that it was first invented in 1876. And if you go on the official Moxie website, they say 1876. However, there's a newspaper article from 1926 that reads, 56 years ago, Moxie was invented by Dr. Augustine Thompson. Subtract 56 from 1926, and you get 1870. Yeah, I don't need to flip the page. Just a little about myself here. I got into the furry fandom way back in the days when the internet was text only. Alt fan fur. The late 18, around 18. I'm as old as my character, right?
You look good for your age.
Well, my hair, now you know why my hair is so great. Around 1989. And then I kind of drifted off to a side group called Alt Devil Bunnies, best left undescribed, unless you want to really know about the war against the killer bunny rabbits. When that petered out, I came back and got busy in the fandom again around 2010. Moxie side. I was brought up as a child of the 70s and 80s, back when diet soft drinks were sweetened with saccharin. If you've ever had Sweet and Low, you've had saccharin, and as you know, it has a bitter aftertaste. In the mid-'80s, they started switching over to other sweeteners, and I was looking for something that was that had the kind of a bitter aftertaste like before, and got hooked on Moxie. Just like Devil Bunnies and the furry fandom, I found a group of Moxie fans online called New England Moxie Congress. They, in turn, got me involved with the Moxie Festival, where I met up with the people who run the Matthews Museum of Maine Heritage in Union, Maine. That big section in front here is the Moxie wing. That's all Moxie. In Maine, all fairs have to have some sort of museum. It's written into the bylaws of the Fair Association. And the Matthews Museum serves as the museum for the Union Fair. but because of how extensive the collection is, they're open all summer, Wednesdays through Saturdays. And so if you want to visit the largest museum of Moxie memorabilia on public display and save some money, I have discount cards up front that you can grab that gives you a half price. Instead of $5 a get in, it's $2.50. Avoid it during fair week unless you don't mind paying $20 to get into the fair. The museum is free during fair week, but you're going to pay more to get in because of the fair edition. Over the years, they convinced me to join the board of directors. I'm the youngest member. Most of them are in their 80s, and I'm fearing that I'm going to become the president by default unless we can recruit some younger members soon. So if you're in the area and you're a fan of Moxie who would like to help us out, talk to me afterwards. But why would we have a Moxie museum in Union, Maine? Why Union? It's where the inventor was born. Dr. Augustine Thompson was born on November 25, 1835 in Union. He was raised in Union. When the Civil War broke out, he joined the Union cause and was mustered in the 28th Maine Infantry Regiment. He was elected captain. His regiment was sent off to Louisiana, where he charged the enemy and was shot 3 times in the same battle. In the left leg, the chest, and the shoulder. Let's pause there a moment. What do you know about the Civil War and bullet wounds?
At that time, they're impossible to really survive.
Yeah, usually.
They take the limb.
Yeah, they usually would take the limb. Yes, because gangrene would set in because they didn't have antibiotics. Yeah. Somehow
we
he
don't got either. We got whiskey. We don't got that. You're biting a bullet.
Somehow he survived being shot all 3 times without losing a limb. Maybe he had a lot of Moxie. After the war, he went to Apothecary College in Pennsylvania, graduated in 1870, and set up, in 1868, and set up shop in Lowell, Massachusetts, as a homeopathic physician, basically like a combination of physician and a pharmacist these days. You went to see him, he would mix some stuff up in his, in his lab and hand it to you and say, take this over the following week and then come see me again. At that time, Lowell, Massachusetts was a hotbed of snake oil remedies. Mostly alcohol and cocaine, just so you feel good, but it doesn't really cure you. They would promote it as a cure-all, because this is before the Food and Drug Act of 1906. So you can make any claim you want and get away with it. One example was a product called Ayer's cathartic pills that were sold coast to coast. When the inventor died in 1878, he was worth $20 million in 1878 funds. Today, $500 million is what that is. Dr. Thompson wanted in on the game, but being from Maine being a teetotaler state, prohibition state, anti-alcohol, he didn't want to sell anything that was bad for him. So he mixed up this concoction of herbs and roots, including ginseng root, and he called it Moxie Nerve Food that you would take by the spoonful. And he made the same crazy claims as everybody else. This ad is from about 1895. It's from my collection. It's on the back page of a children's magazine, which is absolutely wrong in this case, if you ask me. A delicious and healthful beverage of the greatest value to persons suffering from nervousness or incipient paralysis.
Oh, I hate that.
Incipient paralysis. Any idea? Today you need Viagra. So yeah, loss of manhood. Moxie promoted himself as Viagra.
In a child's magazine.
In a child's magazine.
I'm not first to drink.
I don't mind.
Yeah.
Isn't that hilarious?
Except no substitutes.
Except no substitutes. You don't need a prescription. Just go to your local store and pick up a bottle of Viagram with Moxie. It took off in cities, big time. And then in around 18, let's see, I've lost track. Sorry, I'm jumping too fast. Oh yeah, why call it Moxie? Why did he call it Moxie? According to the patent, he made it up. But as we covered in the quiz, Moxie is a Native American word for black water, and Moxie is kind of black in color. And a lot of your snake oils had Native American names, and so maybe that's where it really came from. And as I was saying before, it really took off. By 1889, Dr. Thompson pulled away from Moxie and leased the rights to others for $5,000 a year, or $166,000 a year in today's money. Not too bad a retirement fund, right? And he spent the rest of his days writing plays, and then passed away in 1903. Both his sons, Frank and Henry, as you see, F. Thompson, H. Thompson, or Frank and Henry, stayed on with the company, and the company relocated to Boston. I lost my place, sorry. It's just been a little while. There we go. And then when the Food and Drug Act hit in 1906, they had to drop nerve food from it and call it just plain Moxie. In 1896, Frank Archer came along and joined the company. Born in Lincoln, Maine in 1862, and like I said, he joined the Moxie Company in 1896, he made Moxie the first successfully mass-marketed product in the country. He was a marketing genius. He wasn't afraid to try different things to try and make things work, and luckily for him, they worked out. For example, bottle wagons. Giant Moxie bottles on horse wagons going around to various neighborhoods. They would pull over, open up the hollow bottle, sit on the bottle, and sell glasses of Moxie out of the bottle. The one on the left is from 1903, before they had to change the name, and the one on the right is from 1906 after changing the name to just Moxie. The Moxie Bottle House. This was built for a food exhibition in Boston in 1903. It's about 33 feet tall. The cylinder breaks down to 12 panels, the neck another 6, so you can transport it from place to place. After the food expo, this traveled, and I keep hearing, are you getting feedback on me? Probably not.
No, sounds good.
It traveled to various fairs and festivals here in the Northeast, including spending time at Coney Island. In 1909, it was set up in Pine Island Amusement Park, and that's where it stayed for the next 10 years before it was abandoned. Pine Island Amusement Park is in southern Manchester, not too far from where the airport is now. When it was abandoned, a family took it down across the pond, set it back up in the camp lot, and they lived in it for a year. They then sold it to a second family, who added a cottage to it, as you can see in the center photo. They put floors inside the bottle. Those became the bedrooms for the kids. I can just imagine the kind of trouble the kids got into their first fall back to school when the teacher said, "What did you do for the summer?" "I spent my summer in a bottle." And of course, back then, it's like, I was drunk. Various members of that family used it for about 80 years and then put it on the market. The neighbor bought it. He just bought it for the land. He wanted to bulldoze it, but knowing that the bottle was historical, he gave people a chance to try and save the bottle. And some Moxie enthusiasts bought the bottle, took it apart, and then they found it was more of a challenge to salvage than they could handle. They turned to the New England Moxie Congress, who bought it from them, donated to the Matthews Museum. It went into storage for 10 years while we sold an awful lot of t-shirts to build that wing that I showed you earlier. And this bottle is now the centerpiece of the museum collection. Frank Archer is also responsible for the iconic Moxie Man that we know to this day and see. Briefly in the 40s, they made him look more like Frank Archer before bringing him back to the original design. a lot of people for a long time thought that Frank Archer was the model for the Moxie Man because a lot of the signs would read, Frank Archer says, if all particular, drink Moxie. He was not the model. John Chamberlain was the model. He worked for Forbes Lithograph, which was one of the subsidiaries of Moxie, because Moxie wanted to have its own in-house production company for their advertising. They offered him $50 to pose. And he said, sure, I'll pose for $50, because $50 back then is almost $2,000 today. Not knowing that it would take off and remain an icon for the company for 120 years. Remember, this is 1906. What other historical character do you know of?
Uncle Sam.
Uncle Sam. Uncle Sam's from 1916. What do you think?
I think they used his likeness.
Yeah.
Can we sue? We should sue.
Well, the artist claims that he copied a British want ad that was similar. But who knows? Maybe the British ad also copied from Moxie. Who knows? So we don't have any proof either way, but as far as I'm concerned, they copied Moxie.
The intimidating man.
Yeah.
The intimidating man.
Moxie was also an early adopter of automobiles. In a lot of towns in New England, the first car anybody saw was a Moxie car, because they would send their agents out in those vehicles to set up signs and stuff at the stores. Late in this process, so this was back in like the 1890s, 1900s, late in this process in 1917, Frank Archer decided to mount a fake horse on a car chassis. Thus, the horsemobile. Isn't it weird looking, right? But I've seen both of these. I took these photos. The one on your left is the last original Moxie horsemobile. Until 2 years ago, it was on loan and display at Clark's Trading Post in New Hampshire. The owner passed, it went up for auction, it sold for $65,000 and went into a private collection, sadly. And that's a shame. You know, something like that should be out at the parades. Or it's a shame that we couldn't have come up with the funds to give it to like the Owl's Head Transportation Museum down the road from the Matthews Museum. The other one here is a reproduction built by Will Mackey, who sadly has long since passed away. His family down in Pennsylvania keeps promising to bring it back up to the Moxie Festival, and they never follow through. If you ever get a chance to see one of these, snap a photo.
All I can say is they beat Ford to the Mustang.
That's great. That's great. As you can see, I got well ahead of my notes, but I hadn't missed anything. That's good. 1920s. By 1920, Moxie was the #1 soft drink in the country thanks to Frank Archer's advertising. Well ahead of Coca-Cola that was #2. And they needed a bigger facility. So they bought an old brewery in Jamaica Plains section of Roxbury, which is now part of Boston. Renamed it Moxieland. They set up glass hallways so the public could come in and observe at how clean their facility was in producing Moxie. In addition, this was before the days of air traffic control, so they put arrows on the roof to direct airplanes to where what Logan is now, before it was called Logan. In addition, they had a hit record. How many products do you know that go out and commission their own song? These days, you know, you might pay another artist to borrow their song, but they went and commissioned their own Foxtrot song, which was the hit back then. Let's see if I can get this to work without losing the slideshow. No, I'm gonna have to escape this a moment. We'll go back to slide 25 after. So I'm already halfway through my slides. Foxtrot style, which was the popular music type back then.
When things go wrong, don't drown or drown or die. Life's worthwhile if you smile. Your way you'll surely win if you will. like the rest down the line. Let others keep trying, you're so satisfying. There's nothing like Moxie for mine.
Have you heard enough, or you want me to let it go all the way?
Keep it going.
Okay. We're almost halfway.
Have they ever made a remastered version of this?
They should.
That would be pretty cool.
I'll send all the rest down the line. Let others keep trying, you're so satisfying. There's nothing like Moxie for mine. For Moxie has a flavor all its own. Pure, safe and pure. Let everyone proclaim its name and name. Ringing while they're singing. Moxie, oh Moxie, me for you. I don't know what I could do without you. As the drink you're a partner in winter or summer. There's something so pleasant about you. Oh, you stay on the jet, for you are the best. I'll send all the rest down the line. Let others keep trying, you're so satisfying. There's nothing
Like Moxie from mine.
Moxie, oh Moxie, me for you. I don't know what I could do without you. As the drink you're a monster, if winter or summer. There's something so pleasant about you. Oh, you stand the test, for you are the best. I'll send all the rest down the line. Let others keep trying, you're so satisfying. There's nothing like Moxie for mine.
Woo! They didn't just commission this. Arthur Fields was one of the bigger names in music at that time, so they must have spent quite a bit of money on this. And then they turned around and gave these records away as an advertisement. And they also did it as sheet music.
How much is it credit?
The sheet music runs you about $50 today. You can find it. A record in 100 to 150.
Wow. I'm trying to save for it though. I want it. I want to find it.
Oh, it's gonna make me start back again. So.
That's catchy. The answer is E, none of the above.
But not everything was great for Moxie in the 1920s and they were number one. It was Prohibition. You think Prohibition would be great for a soft drink, unless you're number one. And you do a serious flaw in your bottle design. This is the family size Moxie bottle. Fill it to the neck, and it's 28 ounces. Fill it to the top of the end, and it's 25.6 ounces, aka 750 milliliters, or a fifth. So the bootleggers were stealing the Moxie bottles to put their bathtub gin in. Now, of course, when law enforcement catches up with a bootlegger, they didn't just pop a bottle and dump it out. They smashed the bottles. And so Moxie's costs started going up because they had to replace all the stolen bottles. If you walk into an antique store and you find a bottle like this with a ceramic lid, that ceramic lid was put on by a bootlegger, and that bottle survived bootlegging days. Then, 1930s, the late 1929, you have the Great Crash, and we hit the Depression. At the beginning of the Great Depression, there were two soft drink giants left. They were Moxie and Coca-Cola. There was a chain of drugstores. I'm just remember the name of the person. Let's see, I have it right here. His name was Charles Goff, and he owned the Loft Candy Company. His drugstores had soda fountains. He had over 100 of these stores in the chain. He turned to Coca-Cola and said, "Since I'm buying stuff in bulk from you, you're going to give me a discount, right?" Coke said, "No way." And then Guthrie responded, You're going to give me a discount or I'm going to throw you out. I dare you to throw me out. So he did. He needed something to replace Coca-Cola. He found the remnants of Pepsi, which had gone out of business in 1923, bought it up, and put that in place of Coke and his soda fountains. But he was so ticked off at Coke that he decided to bottle it to compete it with Coca-Cola. In the Depression, he says, I'm going to hit them where it hurts, in the pocketbook. I don't care if it costs me money. So I'm going to sell twice as much Pepsi in my bottles for the same nickel as Coke's 6-ounce bottles. And thus the Cola Wars began. And the reason I'm bringing this up here, even though you could probably do a whole panel on just Cola Wars, is it wasn't just Coke that got hurt. It was Moxie. So Moxie was the first victim of the Cola Wars. World War II hits. Now we have rationing, including sugar. Coca-Cola got smart. They went to Uncle Sam and said, if you don't ration my sugar so I can keep producing my product without running low, I will make Coca-Cola available on the front lines for the GIs all over the world, regardless of where they're fighting, for a nickel. Uncle Sam said, sure. So by the end of the war, when those GIs came home, they were used to Coca-Cola. They didn't want that fuddy-duddy stuff that their parents drank, Moxie. They wanted Coke. And so in 1948, Moxie makes a near-fatal mistake. They alter the formula trying to gain back those GIs. In the process, they upset their own customer base and they started losing sales. They backpedaled just barely in the nick of time, but by now they're no longer number one nor number two. That's now Coke and Pepsi. They become regional only at this point. New England, New York, and Pennsylvania. They have to sell Moxieland since they no longer need such a big factory. And they relocate to Needham Heights outside of Boston. And they become basically a syrup producer to supply to their franchises, to the local smaller bottling companies. This is despite hiring on Ted Williams to promote the product. This is despite even producing a root beer named after Ted. It just didn't work out, and Moxie sales were basically, pardon me, flat. Then along came Mad Magazine. Interesting. In the late 50s, Mad Magazine wanted to start selling ads in their magazine to bring in ad revenue. How do you do that when you parody everything in your magazine, including ads? So they approached the Moxie company and asked permission to start sticking their logo in the pages of the magazine, just to see what happens. And so the logo would just appear in different places. Here's one example here where you've got the boat with the Moxie logo on the back of the boat. Moxie sales started to increase again. But there were a lot of people who subscribed to Mad Magazine who'd never heard of Moxie. So they started writing into the magazine saying, what's all this Moxie about? What's all this Moxie about? And the magazine posted an editorial which read, actually, we've been plastering Moxie all over the magazine because we feel it ought to be restored to the popularity and place of prominence it once enjoyed upon the American scene. Yes, sir, let's bring back Moxie. It was so successful that they were then able to start selling ads like this to other companies. They were so thankful that they named Alfred Newman's girlfriend Moxie. New management came into Moxie. Guess what they did? Didn't learn the mistake the first time around. New Moxie 2. And it all but killed the company. A company called Monarch Beverages came along. They what they were doing at that time is they were scooping up all these little regional brands to save them. And so they bought out what was left of Moxie and relocated to Atlanta, Georgia, which started people thinking that Coca-Cola bought out Moxie around 1968, because you'd look at the bottles and say, bottled on the authority of Monarch Beverages, Atlanta, Georgia. People just see Atlanta, which is the home base of Coca-Cola. 1980s. Frank N. Potter was an author who would write various car and truck history books. He wanted to write a book about the history of the Moxie mobile. But he quickly learned the only way to write a history of the Moxie mobile is to write a history of Moxie itself. It was published in 1981. Frank Anicetti, in the center of the photo here, ran a store in downtown Lisbon Falls called Kennebec Flavored Fruits. He reached out to Frank Potter and said, "Hey, would you mind coming to my store in Lisbon Falls, Maine, and do a book signing?" And Frank Potter said, "Yes." So Frank A. sent off 200 postcards to people he knew, saying, "Hey, I'm going to do a book signing in my store. You want to come?" He figured he might get 50 people show up. More than 250 people showed up, and thus the Moxie Festival was born. He retired in 2016 and passed away in 2017. In 1991, Moxie enthusiasts who came to the festival then went down to the Kennebunkport Seashore Trolley Museum and founded the New England Moxie Congress, the fan club for the Moxie soft drink. Whether you like it or you like collecting it, those are the people that set it up. And they have members in almost every state in the country. Going dry.
Make some Moxie.
I prefer a diet. I hate corn syrup.
Amen.
In the late 2000s, Monarch wanted to get out of saving all these local brands, because some of their brands, they moved them overseas and they took off overseas. They didn't move Moxie overseas, sadly. And so they put it up for sale, and Cornucopia Beverages of New Bedford, New Hampshire bought it. Cornucopia is a subsidiary of Coca-Cola of Northern New England. Coca-Cola of Northern New England is a subsidiary of Kirin Beverages of Japan. So in 2007, Moxie became Japanese. CCNE did what they could to promote the product, but they didn't have the funds that they needed to truly promote the product. But they tried, and they supported NEMC, and NEMC supported them. In 2018, Coca-Cola acquired CCNE and all of their products. So yes, Coke now owns Moxie. There were production issues in 2019, and then a shortage of the Moxie syrup during the pandemic. Some longtime drinkers now think the current production of Moxie is weak compared to what it was prior to Coca-Cola. Part of that is that Moxie used less corn syrup than other products. Coke doesn't bother doing that. They use the same corn syrup base for Moxie as everything else, sadly. Coke does not intend to promote Moxie outside of where it is now. And so there's a lot of distrust between the New England Moxie Congress and Coca-Cola. Only the future will tell what may happen from there. That's the history, but I got some other stuff here. Where can you get Moxie? Coca-Cola Northern New England, Northeast, in Bedford, New Hampshire, covers New England. That's the corn syrup. If you live anywhere between here and Pittsburgh, and you drive to Anthracon, take a 15-mile detour off the Pennsylvania Turnpike to Catawissa Bottling Company in Catawissa, PA. They're the last small bottler of Moxie. And they use sugar in their glass bottles. And then Orca Beverages in I'm not even going to try and pronounce that. They're near
Mukilteo,
Mukilteo, Washington. They're in Seattle, near Seattle. They produce all kinds of the regional beverages, including Moxie, and they sell to Cracker Barrel. So if there's a Cracker Barrel near you, you can get Moxie. If they don't have it in stock, ask and they can get it in stock for you. The fun stuff. Why is it orange when the product is brown? We don't really know. But we got three theories that we can look at on this. The first theory comes from Merrill Lewis, who wrote the most recent history book on Moxie. And he's, according to him, well, the early prescription papers, like the leftmost bottle on the screen, were off-white. And then Moxie decided to make it more orange to stick out. Great theory, except it wasn't always orange. As you can see, some of these labels were red. Theory number 2. Dr. Thompson's war record I showed you earlier has a lot of orange in it. So maybe they went with orange to promote that it was a veteran-owned company. My theory. How many of you do adult beverages bitters in? Ever heard of Angostura bitters? Do you know what's in Angostura bitters? Gentian root. The same flavor ingredient as Moxie. If you accidentally spill that, it's orange. So maybe it's orange because of the gentian. Any Star Trek fans here? If you believe the novels are canon, there's Moxie in the Star Trek universe. Huh? So yeah, if you find yourself in the Star Trek universe, go up to a replicator, order Moxie, and it's not going to be confused. How about cartoons? The Simpsons. In the episode of Homer's Phobia, which tackled homosexuality and won an Emmy for it, in the opening credits, you have Moxie on a sign in the background. Animaniacs. In Pocahontas, which was a parody of various Disney cartoons, including Pocahontas, most of the way through, the Warner Brothers decided to take a break from the actual film, and they pulled out a soda fountain, and as you can see at the top center here, a Moxie sign. Back then, there was a group called Alt TV Animaniacs. After every episode, the fans would start jotting down into the group all the cultural references that appeared in the films. The writers were also reading this group, so it was like a competition. What can we try and do to trip them up? They celebrated after this episode because everyone missed the Moxie reference. Bugs Bunny. Ballot Box Bunny, 1951. About halfway through the film, as you can see, Bugs Bunny's grabbing bottles of Moxie from a crate to put them in an ice bath to hand out to potential voters. One of the collection areas of Moxie is postcards. It's almost like a Where's Waldo. Some of them is easier to spot the Moxie than it is in others. There's over 400 postcards out there documented so far. I'm just going to give you 3 quick examples. Waterville, Maine. Easy. Billboard. Right? Quincy, Massachusetts. Not quite so easy, but if you look a little quicker, a little more carefully, it's a little faded.
I can barely
It's
see
a
it.
Moxie sign on top of the store. Lewiston Fair. I'd have to blow it up for you.
Oh, I see.
Oh my God.
Ooh.
And they get tougher from there. I figured this would be enough. Finally, Moxie and the furry fandom. Huh? There was one bottler in New York State who experimented trying to make a different bottle. Be Foxy, drink Moxie. This is the most sought after bottle by collectors. The current bid for one, if you can find one, is $5 grand. Who knew that Moxie could be a transformation figure? And that's my presentation. Here are my references. 40 minutes. And no problem. Did I miss anything you have questions on?
The logo is just so distinct. With, it looks way ahead of its time in like 1909. Anything on that, or do we know anything about it, or was it just somebody made it?
Somebody made it. That's all I know. And unfortunately, even though I'm with the museum that has the background on this, we have all the records from the Moxie company. But no, I don't know more than that. I saw a hand over here.
Is there like an easy way to get into the Moxie?
The Moxie Club?
Yeah.
Yes. I didn't bring any of their cards with me. I'm sorry, but if you look up New England Moxie Congress, you can find them online and how to join.
Same.
Lifetime membership's $100, or it's like $5 or $10 a year. So if you think you're going to live at least 10 years, lifetime membership is the better way. You laugh, but sometimes we get people who say, "Oh, I don't know, I'm going to live that long, so I'll just pay year to year." Any other questions before we pass out samples?
As a fox, is one of those bottles in the Moxie Museum?
Yes, that photo I showed you is from the museum.
Okay, cool.
And it's under lock and key for obvious reasons.
Yeah. So this one's probably an oddly specific one, but I love collecting like the toy tractor trailers from different like soda companies, stores. Did Moxie ever put one out, or any toys or anything like that?
There was one put out after the fact by the New England Moxie Congress. It's hard to find now because you had to be a member of the Congress to put in an order. And it was $50 at that time. Now you'll be lucky to find one from $250 to $300 if you see one hit auction. It's big. It's big. Metal signs in bad shape start at $500. What's common is this style of bottle because there's so many of them. You can get one of these for $20. If you see someone pricing more than $20, they're overpriced. And then the smallest 7-ounce bottles are $5.
This might be Mandela effect, but wasn't there like a Hot Wheels Moxie? I know Hot Wheels was like everything.
I don't know. We do not have one in the museum, if there is. So, if that's it, I'll pop them in the bottle and start pouring out samples. Thank you for attending. I hope you enjoyed it.
Here,